Well, good evening. Welcome to another episode, Let the Truth Be Told. My name is Sean Williams, and I thank the Lord for everybody that tune into us every Sunday night and come back and tell me, say, Sean, I really appreciate the program. I thank you guys for taking your precious time out to just listen to us on this program. I thank the Lord for UPTV and Jason being able to take this program for us today. I thank the Lord for everybody that's out there and continue to stay prayed up for us as we stay prayed up for you. I want to give a big happy graduation shout out to everybody that took the sacrifice to get an education and graduated this year. We have a lot of graduates and we had a lot of graduation celebrations that were out there. I thank the Lord for everybody that did that. Big shouts out to everybody that had a happy birthday on their birthday, and the people that that were pretty lonely on their birthday. Big shouts out to you. I know I had a birthday last week, and I thank the Lord for being able to be 47 years old, and as we in the insurance say, 47 years young. And so I thank the Lord for everybody that had June birthdays. Big shouts out to a close friend of mine, a great family of mine, in the Shelby family, and Mother Ladine Shelby. I hate I couldn't make it to your birthday, your surprise birthday celebration, but the family did reach out to me and wanted me there. I was there, and I was there in spirit and mind. I wanted to be there. I had another engagement to attend, and that was my brother Joe's wedding to Chrissy Savage. I thank the Lord for you, Joe. I thank the Lord for you, Chrissy. Just a great day. I mean, just that celebration, that marriage celebration was just such a beautiful experience. For me and my family, family traveled from out of town, near and far, to attend that wedding celebration, and it was great. I thank the Lord for everybody that helped out, whether if it was just opening the door up, or even just being able to provide food or whatever it was that you did to DJ. Pastor Thomas, big shouts out to you, man. The Mount Olive Baptist Missionary Baptist Church. I thank the Lord for you guys providing us facilities, and you doing a great job, Pastor Thomas, on that celebration. It was both joyful. It was happy. It had some sad moments to it where it was just emotional, but I think it was emotionally happy, just to see my brother and his wife just be happy, to love each other, and I think that's what it's all about. Finding someone to connect with, to just make you better. And if you're like me and my brother, we talk often, and knowing the trials and the tribulations and the ups and downs of his life and throughout our lives that we share together. I thank the Lord for my brother being able to just overcome all the obstacles in his life, to be able to just grasp onto some happiness. And like my brother Joe, he went through a few struggles and a few ups and downs like we all do. And I thank the Lord for him planted a seed and a word to me one day. And he said, Sean, he said, I had to kill myself so I could live again. And I always keep that deep within my spirit, and those words. And I said those words to our viewing audience before. Sometimes we got to kill ourselves. Reinvent ourselves is what a lot of celebrities say. Reinvent yourself. So you can live again. And I think over a course of time of our lives, we have to do changes. We have to make the changes and the necessary changes, just to make ourselves better. So I thank the Lord for him being able to provide those words of encouragement to me. As we get ready to continue on with the program, as I wrote on my paper, and I'm going to try to follow along on my paper. We talked about, just having tough times, rough times, and stumbling blocks, and being able to recover. And I wrote that down as I was preparing for this program. Many of us are very, very stubborn, is what I wrote down, and not focused enough to save ourselves. And a lot of times, we don't see ourselves being able to change, and always want to blame others. I remember a program that I was watching, and it was about President Obama being able to, when he was then president, to be elected, a candidate for election. And it talked about if he was able to make it to be president, And it talked about even though with the African American community, we'll get an African American president. You know, we will still blame the police in our neighborhoods. We will still blame organizations. We'll still blame the country that we live in. We'll blame all kinds of different things. But a word came to me and it says, "It's me, O Lord, standing in the need of prayer." And it's so I'm always going to stay biblical throughout this program, because it's what's in you. It's what in you that is what that comes out. And you can only do what's in you. And so you can only say the things that's in you. And that way, that's your everyday, that's your steps, your motions, those are things that govern you and that ground you. And it's me, O Lord, standing in the prayer, in the need of prayer. And so, so the topic of today's subject is, we always try to enclose this and embody this with the topic of the day. And a couple of days ago, this came to mind. There's nothing new under the sun. And you know, as now the things that we got things going on in our daily lives, and we think that everything is brand new. The Bible speaks about there's nothing new under the sun, meaning that there's the challenges that we face today are nothing new. There's nothing new before us. You know, it's nothing new before us. These challenges that we see have been faced throughout humanity through all our lives. I think it's just that we need to keep our minds and hearts pure and and had love and compassion throughout the environment of all our people. I know it sounds easier said than done, and I know it's tough. You know, as I was looking at this, and I said that the challenges and the stuff that we face, you know, I remember of a scripture or reading in the scripture about Cain and Abel, and Cain slew his brother because of his burnt sacrifice, or his God's gift that Abel was able to give to God for a sacrifice. And so many of us are like Cain, envious, jealous, you know, bitter, you know, hurt. You know, we tend to gravitate to gossip and negativity, you know, and that's just today's society. It's what it's the environment that we grow up in, and that we're living in. You know, and as I thought about this, I thank God for a lot of experiences that I've experienced throughout my lifetime. One of those being the military, of going to the military. That was probably one of the most greatest experiences of my life. I told somebody on yesterday, I did a program with WILL television with Miss Kimberly, and it was an emotional interview on yesterday, because it made me reflect back on my own life. And sometimes we got to do, well, all the time, do a man in the mirror. Look back at your own life. And it used to be, it's a church song to say, as I look back over my life and all that it was, you know, and then at the end of it, it said, I can get glad, and I can get glad. You know, as we look back over our life, and I look back over my life and doing that experience, I told an experience of a racial experience that I had with a roommate when they put us in a room over in Germany, and it was from a Caucasian white guy, and his name was Sean Ott, and mine was Sean Williams, and that brought a close little connection there. But we didn't see the connection because I'm from Champaign, Illinois, and I was raised in a mixed community, and he was from South Dakota. And he had never been around African Americans before. And as I sat on my bunk and I listened to some LL Cool J or some Houdini, and he listened to country western music, and I wanted him to turn his radio off, and he wanted me to turn mine off. And that experience taught us something, as we had to share and dwell in that same environment, you know, and sleep and trust on each other, even working together, you know, and we started bonding and mending, and he started getting on side of my bunk and listening to some LL Cool J, and I sat on his bunk as he struggled with missing his family and listened to some country western music, and so as we learned to understand each other, you know, by the time we got ready to depart and move back to the States, we cried to just depart each other, and it wasn't about race. It was about the common things that we loved, and that was just not seeing each other as black or white. We didn't see each other as black or white. We seen each other as being in the military. We seen each other as men. We seen each other as missing our own families, and being a part of that military experience. So I thank the Lord for the military for teaching me so many different things. But as I was in that aviation unit, and then I moved back to the States and going to Fort Bragg, and Fort Bragg was the real Army. And as I learned that experience and participated within that, even being a cook, as being in a part of attached to a psychological warfare unit, I asked those guys, what were your job? What's your job consist of? What were some of the things that you do? And so as they explained to me what psychological warfare was, the art of the mind and the control of the mind and things of that nature, I understood a little bit more as I got out and faced the world and the challenges that we face in the world. And so so it allowed me to see things much more clear. As when I was in school, I hated algebra. Oh, I hated algebra. Algebra 1, I probably only made it to algebra 1, but I hated algebra. But as I went on in life and I look at the struggles and the challenges that I have, the mistakes, the accomplishments, the things that went right, the things that went wrong, I look at it as algebra. And I look at it as the X's, the Y's, the Z's, the things that that you got to put together. So you got to put the ups, the downs, the triumphs, the graduation celebrations, the things that when you didn't make it and you didn't graduate, the hardships, the things that you go through when you don't know the answers, and then you find an answer out. You put all of those things together and embody those things that you've been through within your lifetime to try to get to where you're trying to be, where you're trying to get to. As I I think about some of the things that's going on, it's hard for people to dream and to wish anymore. And as I was speaking to that that radio audience on yesterday, as a young man trying to develop into what I want to do in my life, and to be able to wish and dream, I spoke to a young man over at Centennial High School, and I said, man, what do you want to do when you graduate? And he said, Sean, I used to dream, but I don't dream anymore. And it saddened me so much that our young people don't dream anymore. We don't wish. Back in the day, we used to always say, I wish I had this, I wish I had that car. And I told of a time in our lives as young people growing up. We didn't have BET or any of those programs back in the day. We had 3 channels, ABC, NBC, and CBS. And at 12 o'clock, the flag went across the television and it was lights out. But during that day, it was white shows that taught us things and we connected with. So it could have been the Brady Bunch, or it could have been 8 is Enough. But all of those stories, it could have been Gilligan's Island. And we wished that Gilligan would one day get off that island because we've seen ourselves or seen a role within ourselves within those stories. So if it was Little House on the Prairie or whatever program that it was, we fell into the story, into the dialogue of the story, just to have, to be able to see those people, make it to where they want to be. And so, I say those things because a lot of times we got to put a face to blame somebody, and we got to put a face on that, And so, and what it does is once we try to put a face on it, and what I wrote on my paper is, which causes us to hurt, and we hurt, and when we do, and when we hurt so bad, is that we tend to hurt the people that's closest to us, the people and the places and the things that's closest to us, and so and that's one of the things that the devil wants us to do. And one of the things that I wrote on the paper for us to be able to bring to your attention is to always remember that the devil here to kill, steal, and destroy, and that the devil is roaring. And when I was writing that down, I pulled up a scripture, and one of the scriptures was Peter 1:5-8, and it said, "Be sober." One of them says, and one of the versions, because we got a bunch of different versions of the Bible, but one of the versions said, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walketh as a roaring lion, seeking who he can devour." And when we see devil, we think of it as some red figure with the long tail and those type of things. And I think that's what we were taught to think. But this particular sentence said, walketh. So he walking around like me and you. Walketh. One of them says, be sober, well-balanced, self-disciplined, be alert and cautious at all times. The enemy of yours, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, fiercely hungry, seeking someone to devour. One of them says, be alert, be on watch. Your enemy, the devil, rolls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. And I got a couple more. This one says, I like this one. It says, keep a cool head, stay alert. The devil is poised to pounce and would like nothing better than to catch you napping. Keep your guard up. You're not the only ones plunge in these hard times. It's the same as with Christians all over the world. So keep a firm grip on faith. The suffering won't last forever. It won't be long before the generous God who has great plans for us in Christ, eternal and glorious plans they are. We have you to put together and your feet for good. He gets the last word. Yes, he does. One of them says, discipline yourself. Keep alert. Keep a roaring lion. Keep a roaring lion, your adversary, the devil's prowl around you. Looking for someone to devour. And the last one says, most importantly, be disciplined and stay on guard. Your enemy, the devil, was prowling around outside like a roaring lion, just waiting and hoping for a chance to devour someone. But I like this one back up here that says, keep a cool head, because you always got to keep a level head. Keep a cool head. Stay alert. It reminds me of a passage of scripture saying that always talk about continuously prayer, and continuously stay prayed up, continuously stay prayed up, and so we got to stay on guard all the time, man, because things are out there to just, knock us off our square. And so we got to always stay prayed up, and that's one of the things that we have to continuously do. We've just encountered some things that have happened here nationally, and we just faced and the media says it's one of the worst shootings in our nation's history. But the shooting in Orlando, Florida, and it said in the topic of this and the leading headlines of this article says the gunman was cool and calm as he massacred over 50 people in Orlando. And so even as the devil was inside of him, he kept a calm head to devour many, and I don't condone this at all. And it saddens me to see that somebody has so much anger, so much bitterness about the next person, that they would cause this type of harm, this type of pain on somebody else because of their own beliefs and what they hold dear to their hearts. We can have our own opinions, the views and opinions of everybody's. You can have your own opinion, but to take out somebody else because they have their own opinion and their own lifestyle, that ain't cool. And so, that's not cool at all. And one of the things that media did is that they said it's the worst shooting in U.S. history. But I'm to beg the difference. We've had many murders within U.S. history and many massacres that have happened. And it calls me back to 75 blacks, 9 whites killed in Tulsa, Oklahoma during Black Wall Street. That was just one massacre. There's been many massacres on the U.S. soil and around the world. But our selfishness to put this story up front, to make this here be the largest massacre. And that's what we do. We always get selfish. It's selfishness even when we're in charge of media to put the propaganda out there to make our views and our opinions on a certain agenda that we're trying to promote. And that's what's going on. It always it always behooves me how we're always the me attitude. It's always about me. We always have to remember our neighbors and our brothers and sisters around the world that's going through. because there's people getting killed around the world daily, daily, by the thousands, by the thousands. And what we do is we get immune to those stories. And a lot of times, even when I'm dealing with some of the things that go on, even in the business I'm into, or I look at Facebook, or I look at some stories that might happen. We want the world to pause when we're going through. When it's me, oh Lord, standing in need of prayer, I want everybody to stop. I want you to stop what you're doing. I want you to, give what you can give, and I want you to do for me. And it's always like that. But we always got to remember, we got to be our brother's keeper, our sister's keeper. Whether if it's black, it's white, it's community. One segment of the community. I talked about that on yesterday. When it's either the North End or it's the West Side of Champaign or it's East Urbana, it's Champaign Urbana. So when we get on a national spectrum with something like a horrific murder happens in the community, and we look at it, and we're put on a national scale, for everybody to look at. They don't say where it happened at the North End of Champaign. They say it happened in Champaign Urbana, the home of the University of Illinois. So it's everybody's issue. It's everybody's problem. It's not just one segment of the community. So when we get a black eye, it's all of us getting a black eye. And we got to face it like it's all of us getting a black eye. Whether if it's black, white, Asian, Latino, whatever it is, we're all in this community together, and we should look at it like that, And so as we deal with, this rigorous debate with who's going to be the next president, whether it's Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, or Barry Sanders, all of these people that's playing a role into this. And as the mudslinging goes back and forth, it just saddens me, at how Trump came out and just denounced all Muslims and put everybody in one shell, because one radical person did something. And then they're harping on. I was listening to a radio program this morning. They want the president to come out and use certain verbiage, certain language, and he understands the dynamics more than we do. He gets the intelligence every morning. He gets the debriefing. He knows the top secret information, and we should let him handle that. That's what we put him in positions for. We need to pray for him to make the right decisions, and that's all our leaders, that their motives are pure. And then do our part. But we're always looking for somebody to blame, somebody to, kick at when things don't go right. And then it's always, us not doing the man in the mirror with our own selves. What are you doing to make this world and this country and this neighborhood and this community a better place? Do you reluct your responsibilities? What are you doing with your own children? I sit back a lot of times in these community meetings, and I'm going to go off script because I just don't like going on script. Let's go off script. And I sit back a lot of times in these meetings and stuff like that. And, and I always wonder, what's going on with our community? And I always get that question from media, or I get it from other community leaders. What's going on with our community? And I keep it 100 across the board. The views and opinions of Sean Williams, charge it to my head, but not to my heart. And I'm just going to keep it real. As a village, we lost our village. Our village sleep. It's like what we said about the devil. We're napping. We're napping, and he devouring our people up. There's nothing new under the sun. And we're asleep at the wheel. We raising our kids, but we sleep. We relying on an app to tell us where our kids at. We're relying on a commercial on television nowadays because it's more convenient to get this app that's hooked up to your car with some GPS to tell us what our kids are at, instead of instilling with them to call somebody, tell somebody where you're at, be where you say you're supposed to be at. That's because we slipping. We slipping on our morals, our values, our principles. Our children can only do what was inbred in them. And if we weren't taught, I just went through a thing with family. And I'm going to keep it real because I got to talk about my family in order to be able to talk to you and explain to you and help you with your own family. And so as my mom worked in things of that nature real hard, man, and I thank the Lord for my mom. Me and my younger sister, me and my sister, we good. We good. We deuces. We good at what you did for us. But not all of my family feel the same way. You know, and that's the way your family is, because I deal with families and family issues. And we all got hurts, habits, and hang-ups in our own families. And so some of my family members miss that hug, miss that love. Some of us need it a little bit more than others. And I understand that. I totally understand that. But what I explained to my own family is, babe, what we got to do is brush it off. And one thing that I listened to somebody doing a sermon or speech, or it was something that was planted in my seed one day, planted a seed into me one day. And it says it take a sibling to heal another sibling. And that's what made me have the dialogue with my own family, because I wanted to be able to help heal that situation so that we can move forward. Because when one of our siblings have a light that's dim, then it dims all of our light. And that's the way it is with family. You know, when you got that uncle that come around and just mess things all the way up, or you got that aunt that comes around and just mess everything up, or that brother, that sister that's hurt, and you know they're hurting. And a lot of times we'll see them hurt, and we'll see our grandchildren, our nieces, our nephews hurting. We'll look the other way. We'll do what people do in the community. When we see a crime committed, we look the other way. And it's an unaddressed wound. And that wound just gets worse, and it gets worse, and it gets worse. It's almost like getting a diagnosis from the doctor, and he to give you a follow-up appointment, and you never go. Well, how do you think it's going to get better? And so as I tried to mentally heal my own family and help them so we can be better as a family, so that when we go around at Christmas, we can genuinely say that we love you, and we can express that, and we can be around having a joyous time. As we say that our community is great, we're not lying about it. We have a great community. We have great people within our families, and we do. But we got to really let our light shine the way it's supposed to do, and where it's created, you know. And so it's always messed me up how we, you know, because I've been all the way around the world. I've been to a bunch of different other states, and I've seen other communities and the way they work, in military communities, the way it works. And both, whether it's whites or black, or it's Croatians, or whether it's people that's from the Hindu religion, or what Muslim community, or whatever the case it might be. And I've seen these people live productive lives. I mean, morals and values just are intact. And so it always behooved me of what we think heaven's gonna look like. And so when we're in these different denominations, we got a closed mind to say we're the only one gonna be up there next to God. And it behooves me, because it made my mind think and roll. And I thought about the day of Pentecost, and I thought about how people came from far and near. They didn't speak the same languages. And so as I was in Germany, and I sat in that taxi cab, and we didn't speak the same language, but he knew what peace mean. He knew what a thumbs up mean. He knew what a smile meant, you know? And so as we connected like that, those are the things that brought us closer together, you know? And so as these people in the day of Pentecost, they came from far and near, and they had their one focus. They had their one focus. And that was the graciousness of the Holy Spirit, and being able to do what they needed to do. And so that's what it brought. And we only think about this at Christmas time, and that's when the three wise men came from far and near. So what it brought me to is that people came from everywhere. So that's what heaven gonna look. People come from everywhere, all races, all backgrounds, all religions, you know, just coming together. That's what I think it's gonna be, a melting pot. I think it's gonna be a melting pot of people doing the right things and making the necessarily changes, doing what my brother Joe said in the beginning of the segment, being able to kill yourself so you can live again, forgive somebody, being able to move forward and help somebody else move forward within their lives. You know, as we go through this, we've been going through some very tough challenges throughout our communities. I mean, the violence is on the rise. I mean, violence. I looked at the violence that's going on in Chicago, in the Chicago area. I got statistics here about just the Chicago murder rate within 2016, and this is an April article. And I've just looked at some things that happened over the Memorial Day weekend, and as we mourned and went over people that have built legacies in the past, and during that whole weekend in Chicago, I think it was over 91 shootings. And I think it was like over 40 some people were murdered, and we had the murder rate in Chicago has went up over 72% from last year. But it's a trickle effect. It's happening all around the country. And I started this out saying, nothing new under the sun. So people been getting killed since the beginning of time, But what our job is to do is try to build safer communities. And I understand, biblically, where a lot of people put on Facebook and everything, and the things that we read and the things that the Bible talk about as being in the last days, But how can we control our small environment to keep us protected from this roaring devil, this roaring lion, And so we can cushion ourselves by doing just the right things individually and within our families, within our communities, and trying to do better things, But these murder rates within these selfish acts of violence that's happening. I mean, young babies getting killed. Just the other day within Champaign, young lady walking to the store was brutally murdered. In Danville, 16-year-old young man playing basketball was murdered senselessly, maybe over a call or trying to shoot a layup and somebody fouled him and somebody didn't. Whatever the case might have been, it's minute, and snuffed the young man's life out. Now his family got to go through a grieving process and wonder what could he have been to that family, what could he have brought to the table. It's a sad thing, and like I said, we get immune to this, hearing these stories over and over and over again. I was at the shop yesterday, and we were watching the story of Ben Wilson. And Ben Wilson was a basketball player from Chicago Simeon High School. And we watched that whole thing as being impacted the city of Chicago, being a high school athlete, high school basketball player. And that was during my era, back in the 80s. And I remember going to Centennial High School and watching Ben Wilson play. And some of the other guys that were from Irvin Smalls and Kenny Battle and Marcus Liberty, and some of those guys that went to those particular schools in the inner city of Chicago. And I remember that era. And so as we watched that, and what happened is Ben bumped some guy one day. Him and his girlfriend were walking to a store during one of the breaks at school. And Ben maybe got a little arrogant through the story to story, and he depicts of Ben getting a little arrogant after he bumped him, maybe not saying excuse me or whatever the case might be. And the guy turned around and shot him, killed him. Hurt the city of Chicago so bad. Hurt young people that believed in his legacy, believed in his dream, him being catapulted to the next level. And Ben was on his way to the University of Illinois to play basketball. And it hurt me, so as being a young man, it hurt me at that moment to see that young man's dreams, his aspirations, his wishes come to an end abruptly because I didn't say I'm sorry, because I accidentally bumped you. And a lot of our young people, they don't care nowadays. And it's even worse now than it is when Ben got killed. Because the young people nowadays, they own different stuff. I call it the 4 Ps: pistols, Patron, powder. Got one more. And pills. That is what it is. Pistols, powder, Patron, and pills. And that's what our young people are doing. They're doing Molly's and they're doing Xanax, and it's staged like this. Let me tell you, it's staged like this because the devil's seeking who he can devour. And the devil's in the mix of all this stuff that's going on, and that's what that psychological warfare unit and those guys taught me. It's staged like this. So it's a reason why our young people get on pills at an early age. It's so easy for them to take them. So their friends giving their friends pills. I was telling my mom and some older senior ladies, you can't just lay your pills around like we used to back in the day. My grandmother, she might have some nerve pills or some high blood pressure pills laying around, and she could lay them around. We didn't take no pills. I hate to take a pill now. If I take an Aleve, I got to tell everybody that I took an Aleve just in case I have some allergic reaction or something, you know. But nowadays, our young people are so immune to taking the pills, so they take them from their friends, you know. Whatever you give me, you know, we got to have the best of the cushy of the kush weed and all of these different things. We got medical marijuana, so we got marijuana clinics within our own neighborhood, even in Champaign. So we got them all around the country because it's all about the dollar. And people get paid off your dysfunctionality. So you can get high, catch you a DUI, or, you know, under the influence of marijuana, you know, and get your license took and tear your whole life up. Somebody gonna get paid off that. People get paid off of you messing up. And that's what brings us into the studio today, to help you not make the mistakes. You know, and so as the violence occur throughout our community, you know, and it's just not, you know, young people making the mistakes. You know, it's what's been talked about at the ends of times as mother against daughter, father against son. Even in the city of Urbana, we just had a father kill his son. His son jumped on him. And what the article said, they had a dispute. They had a physical altercation. But the way the father saw it is that I'll put you in this world and I'll take you out. That's why he's facing first-degree murder charges. I put you in this world and I'll take you out. Instead of coming to the table and somebody being to have forgiveness within their heart, or somebody to be able to take some cool down time and then revisit what we was even arguing about. A lot of times, you know, when I'm dealing with families, you know, we so hurt and mad that some of us haven't spoke within 20 years, 30 years. We haven't picked the phone up in 20, 30, 40 years. And so because we love this one person that just passed away, it brings us back to the table. And so now we got to see each other after 20, 30, 40 years of never saying I'm sorry, never saying I love you, never bringing this family back together. So most of the times we done lost extended family, you know. And back in the day, we had extended to the extended to the extended family. So as Joe just married Christy, you know, now Christy and Scott and Mother Savage becomes part of our family. You know, we forgot about those things. So we're blended families now. You know, we lost that. We're not blended families anymore. You're not part of my family. We used to pick up people within our family that because they were just close friends and we called it our brothers. You know, hey, that's our brother. You know, that's our cousin. We call him our cousin. You know, and so many times that made our family just even stronger because we all can get together and put something onto the table. You know, bring something to the table. But now we live on an island by ourselves. It's all mine. You know, I remember a guy, you know, went around and he robbed the whole community. You know, he robbed all the drug dealers and he robbed, you know, people within the streets. And they said he had all this stuff on the table. This was a story that they came back to me and said he had all the stuff to the table. And I guess he felt like Al Pacino, the world is mine. So when they raided the house for all the crime that he did, they found everything that he took. All the drugs and the money that he stole from everybody throughout our community. And that's the selfishness of us, is that we want it all for ourselves. But I always tell people that talk to me and they say, Sean, you got this, you got that. I say, you know what? It's the Lord's. Everything that I got is the Lord's. And he gives it to me to share with others. So as I got my car and somebody said, man, I wish I could drive that. Man, here go the keys. Go on, take it down the street. Be careful now. Don't tear it up what the Lord that gave me and gave us to be able to share, because we need to share this with somebody else so they can have the experience. You know, as the Lord done taught me how to cut, you know, and I teach somebody else how to cut. And they teach somebody else how to cut. And not taking that to the grave with me, you know, as I can learn a little bit of what somebody else shared with me. you know. And so many times we got a word in us, but we so selfish. We want to be the big man on the block with the word. But it's all about each one teaching one, you know. And so as we lost our village, you know, and you know, and just the violence that's going on in Champaign, and everybody's sleeping, everybody's ignoring it. You know, I thank the Lord for the city of Champaign. Thank the Lord for Tracy Parsons and city leaders for trying to embrace a program like Fresh Start. And so what Fresh Start is to do is to give convicted felons a fresh start, give them new insight, and to hold them accountable. It's a probably a 3 or 4 part program. The first part being of that program, of that Fresh Start, it's a city program, and so it's connected with community leaders and community organizations and victims and brothers that have been to the penitentiary, people that have sisters that's been to the penitentiary, with the reentry program, things of that nature, to be able to bring those to the table, tell their testimonies, their experience. And so I thank the Lord for them being able to be able to start this program, be able to be a part of a dialogue over in the Peoria area, seeing this program enacted over in Peoria, and be able to bring that to the table over in Champaign. And with the people that say this program ain't gonna work and this, that, and other, you got something better. That's what my comeback. Well, okay, you got something better. Or do you got anything? And everything needs funding and things of that nature. So I thank the Lord for you coming to the table and bringing something to the table to help the people that do want a fresh start. Because there's people out there that want a fresh start, that see themselves as me, oh Lord, standing in need of prayer and I need some help. And sometimes when you're hurting, you got to say you need help. I'm hurting and I can't get up. You know, so many times we hold that in. You know, you got to let somebody know what's going on with you. So I thank the Lord for the program. So the program kind of go like this. So the first segment is a call-in session, identifying those guys, those men and those women that are out here causing havoc throughout the community, that's doing these innocent crimes or could be potential candidates for such crime. And we want to be proactive. We want to get in front of these people and let them know, hey, we did the intelligence. We did all the intelligence throughout the community. Police have done a great job getting the intelligence out there, getting it with their community, with the people that's connected with these people, and say, hey, look, we've identified you as being a potential offender, and we want to give you a fresh start. So bringing them in with a call-in session. But what the program is designed to do is to attach them with the victims of some of these horrific crimes. So some of these mothers that I done sat with and held, you know, and cried with them, that have lost their sons to some of this nonsense, this ignorant violence that's going on throughout our community, you know, that's causing such extreme havoc and extreme stress upon a family, you know, for the loss of a loved one. So they're going to come up and they're going to tell how impactful and how that has impacted their lives, and tell these men and women that's causing these type of crimes or are involved in these type of crimes, you know, how their actions affect the people like them and their families, and how tough that has been to just deal with the loss of a loved one. And, you know, 2 particular mothers in particular that I see on a regular basis. And they are very hurt. One mother in particular maybe lost her son a couple years, about 2 or 3 years ago, and one mother probably lost her son 2 years ago. And they're both still very, 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 very angry, and they're still very, very hurt. And so they have a story to tell. And hopefully the program goes forward so these mothers can get in front of some of these brothers and sisters and plant a seed into making them want to change. Because you can take a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So hopefully that part of that program is very impactful. I hope it is. The second part of that program after that is to bring brothers together that have been through the system, that have made mistakes, that realize that they made mistakes, and that have killed themselves so they can live again, that have changed their lives, changed their actions, and have understood that they needed to make some changes. It was me, oh Lord, standing in need of prayer, and that now productive citizens throughout the community. You know, when I look back on that and I was explaining to some of the leaders, is that I remember my family was the notorious Williams family. And when people came to town, they'd say, oh, stay away from them Williamses and this, that, and other. I'm so proud of some of my brothers, man. I'm so proud of them. I mean, I thank the Lord for just change. I thank the Lord for the saints of God praying for my family. I thank the Lord for some of my sisters, praying for my family. My stepmom, she was always prayerful. I thank the Lord for my dad, that rest in peace to him, for planting those seeds at a young age to make them go back to what was already started within them. I thank the Lord for us being, spiritually inclined from the beginning, so you had somebody that, you knew better, but you just wasn't doing what people then implanted within you. And so I thank the Lord for, all my uncles and stuff like that, because of the fact that my brothers went back to the rock. When you feel like something ain't going right, you go back to the rock. And that's your foundation of what was started within you. Yes, sir. No, ma'am. And they implanted that within their lives to this day is what's keeping them on the right path. So it's guys like that we're going to bring to the table. And restorative justice is what we call it. Giving back within your community, the place that you tore up. A lot of times when people that messed up in this community and then they go off to somewhere else, and they go off to Atlanta or they go to Texas or somewhere and they try to do a fresh start. They forget about where they messed up at and all the people they sold the drugs to and all the people that they hurt and all that. And they'll go somewhere else and they forget about it. And I'm blessed and highly favored and all of these things. And we see it within our own community because people don't like to look back on their past. Your past make you better, not bitter. And so many times we got to get that within our brain. It's your testimony that make you better, make other people better because you're able to get it out. And so as I was talking about my own family, my sisters and things of that nature, it's your testimony that make your nieces better. So you can't give up on your testimony. You can't give up on the things that you went through, your past. Don't hold people to their past. Because a lot of times in this community, we hold people to their past. Oh, that's so-and-so. I remember they did that, back in high school. And this person's 60 years old now. And we still talking about high school. No, I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about, letting them people be able to grow within their own community. Just like young people should be able to grow within this community, become better in this community, be able to make some mistakes in this community without getting killed in this community or have to be incarcerated within this community to be better, And so we got to be in a place where we got to be in a community where folks can grow. So that part of the segment of that program is to bring those brothers and those sisters in to be able to impact the potential offenders. The third part of that program is to bring people from law enforcement, to bring them back in, the people that's over in the judicial system, that say, hey, look, if we're going to bring you every resource throughout our community, and we got a vast array of resources, we just don't tap into them. And so we got an array of resources that they're going to bring and they're going to bring to the table. And they're going to say, hey, look, these are the consequences if you don't accept this help. And they're going to make that shine that light on that process, and say, hey, look, we're not going to tolerate this within our community. So we're going to bring people from the court system, from local and federal law enforcement to bring them in and be able to share their experience and say, hey, we're here to help you. Because those men and women are humans too, and they want to live in a productive, safe community and be able to serve a safe community and productive community. And so and then the fourth part of that is bringing the organizations in. Mental health. If you need mental health, you need employment programs, you need life skills programs. Bring those programs to the table. You need job training programs. I was talking to a young man yesterday and I said, man, you might have to go back to school. You might have to go get into a labor's training program, become a productive painter, that can give you a great salary, where you can be able to raise a family, and feel good about yourselves. And I understand the dynamics. I'm like Jordan Simmons when he preached to the young folks at the Ashley Gibson service. I understand it. I was there at one point in time, so I understand your struggles. I'm from the hood too, so I understand, the obstacles that are in front of you, and how hard it is to change and strip that off daily to be better. I understand what you're going through. I understand, and I sit and I listen. I've listened to the young men and young women, talk about, the services that are out there and the employers that's out there that's not giving them an opportunity. But man, you can't give up. You can't give up. You got to go through the no's to get to the yeses. And there's people, one of you got programs like Fresh Start, or you got Patricia Avery's program, The Intruders, where you can be a part of a program to be proactive, to go out throughout the streets and tell people, how to be better. You can't give up. Be around something positive. Go to a positive motivational service. Pop on something positive on YouTube. Listen to somebody that's positive on there. Google motivational speakers. Try to learn something that you can off of the internet. Just be better. I got a nephew that taught himself refrigeration. How to repair refrigerators, and now he's working for Best Buy repairing refrigerators. And he's going to get training to be licensed and certified within refrigeration. Don't give up. That's what the devil won't do. He's seeking to see he can devour. And if you're already caught up, and you're letting the things that's affecting you, drugs, alcohol, pills, prescription drugs, the people in your neighborhood, all the naysayers around you, hold you down. People don't want to see you come up. The devil that's inside of them don't want to see you do better than them. The crabs in the barrel mentality is out there. So we need to stop ignoring the ailments that's out there. I understand what's out there, but I understand that I understand the other thing. Being faithful. Keep your eye on God. Pouring everything into Him. Let Him be able to fight that battle. Being David. Walking through the valley of the shadows of death, going through all of that. When I was in Detroit, I went through a sales program, and never be reluctant to try new things, and I could have got up and walked away, because I thought it was a warehouse job when I was trying to raise a young family, and I needed something better, but I did it for a few days. And never despise small beginnings, because it could help you in the long run. And so what I did is I went through this ad that was in the paper that said warehouse job, warehouse employment, big salary. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna try that out. I called them and they told me to come in the next day, and I went in. I got there and I was so disappointed and let down, because I was there with probably 150 other people. And it was a sales job to go out and sell rulers and notebook pads and a teddy bear and mouthwash, whatever it was. And but I did it. I said I didn't have anything else on the table. I didn't have anything else, other means of being able to bring back something to be for my wife at that time, to be proud of me, to put a hard day's work in and get an honest day's pay. And I wanted to go out and do it for my family and for me. And so I went out, and one of the training session, and one of the things they taught me was go through the no's to get to the yeses. So what I did is I went out there and I went through, and we went through people that said had no solicitation on their buildings and on their doors. And then we went and we knocked, and we tried all types of different tricks to try to get people to try to say, hey man, look, won't you give us an opportunity? Try to get through the doors of some apartment building, just to get in front of somebody and say, hey, look, I got a ruler, I got a compass, I got a watch for you to buy. Whatever it was that we were selling, we were trying to get people to buy it. And when we made that first sale, it was just such an overwhelming, happy experience to go through the no's to get to the yeses. And that's what helped me even to this day, is when I got things that go, not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody want to see you happy. Not everybody want to see you in that new car. Not everybody want to see you go on that dream vacation. Not everybody want to see your kids grow and graduate, and you got it all over Facebook and your home and your new nice furniture and all that type of stuff. And then you wonder why people tripping you up. You got it all on social media, your Facebook and this and that and this and that. Man, let the Lord, elevate you. Don't get so fascinated with some of those haters that's around you to be able to give you that pat on the back. God gonna give you the increase. And when He give it to you, nobody else can take that away from you. So when you learn those sales experiences, you learn that training experience, that hot job as I was a roofer, and learned that experience, and I could fix my roof and my roof get bad. I know what's going on. I know the dynamics. A lot of times nowadays, we don't fix on nothing that we own because we don't know how. So people get paid off your dysfunctionality. So what you don't know, somebody else gonna bump your head for it. So I thank the Lord for you out here. I thank the Lord for this program as we're here to come to a close. I hope we said something. I hope I said something that was positive, impactful within your life, and that can help you with change. I know I dressed a little down for the program. It's hot outside. Make sure you stay freshened up. Keep some water in you. Man, be able to be nice to somebody. You know, forgive somebody. Love on somebody. You know, and when this community hurts, we all hurt. And when you see these homegoing celebrations, you don't have to say much. Send some flowers. Drop a donation off at one of the local banks that these funds are being collected at, and be able to help these families make it through. Because one day, my grandmother used to say, you keep on living, your turn gonna come too. So we all got to go that route. Your turn gonna come too. Make sure that you're better and not bitter. Make sure that that you're properly prepared for what's gonna come up in the future. Because remember what she said, if you keep living, your day gonna come through. And there's nothing new under the sun. Peace. Thank you for another episode. Let truth be told. Thank you.